Chris.
Good morning, Narelle.
Hey everyone.
Hello everybody. Nice to see you again. So, what are we talking about today?
Today we are launching our painting basics.
Yes. So, we're doing a series of classes. We have a new school called Art, the Universe and Everything with Christine. It's an online school. And we have drawing basics. And this is an introductory video for painting basics.
Sure is. So we've got a lot to cover with painting. It's probably one of the most inquired or asked about topics.
Yes. All of the students that I have are very keen to know more about subjects like paint. What is it? What's it made from?
Yep, so we'll touch on that today with our video, but in the online course we'll actually go into some detail about that.
Yes, you'll learn all about the different types of paint. You'll learn all about the different ways of using them. We're going to talk about tools, how you apply paint to a substrate or canvas or paper.
Yep, so tools, paints, your paintbrushes, then we'll actually go into how you construct a painting. So things like your composition.
Yes, indeed. Composition is very important, and people do get quite worried about creating a composition. So I am going to go through a demonstration for you in this video where we will construct a painting. What are we going to construct?
I think we're going to do a still life.
We are going to do a still life.
So as well as composition, we'll talk about some probably tone, contrast.
Yes, we will.
Maybe a colour palette.
So how to make your painting actually come alive. So yes, we need colour, we need tone, we need composition, we need a bit of creativity.
We do, and we'll go into much more detail with all of those things on the online courses. So you've got to actually subscribe.
Yes, now if you're interested in our online courses, please subscribe to christinereedart.com and you will get all of my newsletters. They come out once a month.
Yep.
And then from there you can access the online courses and you'll get all sorts of special things if you belong to the online courses.
It's very exciting. We're really excited to be making them.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun too.
It is. So we've actually already got the drawing course.
The drawing course is being launched, by the time we make this video, it's online
and running.
So drawing basics is the first one, painting basics is the second, and colour basics is the third. And there will be more to come.
Heaps more. Okay.
Stay with us. Right, so now I'm not going to draw my subject. I prefer to draw with paint, so that's what I'm going to do here. And sometimes it's really useful to have a kind of a point where you can see the different elements in the painting, just kind of just pointed out so that you've got an idea of the composition before you even start. And do try and use up all of your page. In fact, I'm going to put the stalk of that pear there right up here, and it's just going to give me the idea of where I'm going.
I was actually going to just mention that, funny you just said that you actually do often take up the whole space. A lot of people will do a still life and it's this tiny little thing in the middle of the page and they'll start somewhere in the middle like that.
Yes.
Whereas you do tend to take up the whole
I do.
Space with your composition.
Yes, and I guess that's the way I've been taught, but I also like to kind of get into something. And if I think that I've got a kind of little bit on the edge of a page or something, it somehow doesn't quite work for me. One of my teachers was very keen for me to go outside the frame of the painting too. So that's another thing that you can do, and you'll see that often in my work, that it isn't all contained within the page. also not a realist painter, so what you get with my painting often is my creative license.
And we're off again.
And we're off. I feel like I'm having a race here, but I'm not actually. So I didn't mention before that I have a palette, although some of you may have seen this in the past. This is a wet palette, and it's just a plastic box, and I've got some a bit of material under here. It's a chucks, and it's damp.
Good old chucks cloth.
Yes. And there is a lid that goes onto the box so that it keeps the moisture in, and it allows me to keep the paints moist, because acrylics do dry out and people do get frustrated with that. So that's a little tip.
So the little bit of moisture in the chucks cloth underneath
a bit of
plastic film.
Yes, a bit of plastic
so
film.
It keeps it, when you've got the lid on there, it just keeps like a little moisture bubble in the container to keep your paints active.
And also, if you don't want to be using plastic, I have used baking paper sheets before.
Oh, yep.
And they do work. They do break down more easily.
Yep, fair enough. Although the plastic, I imagine you could reuse it for quite some time.
Look, you can see it's encrusted in paint.
We love a crusty paint palette.
Yes. All right. So here we are. I'm just going to start with a bit of painting, and this is a kind of process that just develops with me. I'm not a perfect painter. I just like to get an idea of what I'm doing, and because I use a structure paint, it's not watercolor. I can bring I can use the opaque quality of the paint to help me to create the
so you can paint over areas. It covers quite well because it is quite an opaque paint.
Thank you for that. I was running out of words, and I'm thinking, I can't quite think of what I was trying to say. It's very useful to have you, Narelle.
I'm glad I'm useful.
Thank you. You are extremely useful. It's I sometimes wonder if it's my age or if I'm not concentrating properly, but
Well, you're concentrating on painting at the same time as talking, so
There's
quite a bit. Yeah, that's right.
Quite a challenge at times. I'm using Prussian blue and white at the moment, and I'm just getting a bit of an idea of the pattern on the bowl. I'm not fussed about whether I do a perfect pattern or not. As I said, I can come in and kind of renovate it with time.
I like that word.
I do renovate my paintings a lot. All I want to do at this stage of the game is fill in some of the form, just actually get a feeling for what it is that I'm.
So you're not a formulaic type painter. It's you feel into them almost. But you've sort of got a process, like the way you start and the way you go about it is still a bit of a process.
Yeah, I think I've got a process. With everything, I'm an intuitive person, and I think I'm very right-brained. And although at times I've tried to work in a left-brain manner, it just doesn't work very well for me. So I'm better off just working away in my own way, and it works. So the motto of my
painting
philosophy of
maybe?
painting is creating is living.
Yep.
So it's all about being creative, and I don't want to feel stifled by having to follow convention.
Yeah, although the conventions and the rules and the formulas all help inform the way we paint, you don't necessarily have to follow them.
You are a wise one, aren't you, Narelle?
Sometimes.
I like that comment very much, people. Just take note of that.
I'm learning from the best, Christine.
You'll stay employed, don't you worry.
Oh, that's the plan.
Yes, so people, if you like the way we carry on, please keep with us.
Find us on YouTube.
Find us on YouTube.
What are we on the YouTube channel? Christine Reed Art?
Christine Reed Art. Well, that's actually, the YouTube channel is just Christine Reed, I have to say. But on my website, it's Christine Reed Art.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that I do, and I'm just encouraging you all to do, is to kind of keep moving back from your painting, because you'll see that there's places where it doesn't quite work, and I need to make sure that I get the right shapes in, and I can't see them when I'm this close.
Yeah, I think you can't emphasise that enough, which is why artists use easels, so that you can stand back from your work.
Absolutely, and we haven't talked about easels actually, but an easel is an essential tool for me, and this is one, a homemade one actually, made by a friend, and I can move it up and down easily, and it's actually not huge, so I can easily transport it around the room, put it in different places. This one over here is one my father made for me once when I was younger painter, and he asked me what I'd like for my birthday, and I said an easel, and he was a very handy man, and he made me that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So sadly he's no longer with us, but it's a wonderful thing to have and know that he made it for me, and again it's very useful. So you know, you don't have to spend a fortune. And then I've got a series of aluminium easels that I can transport around. If you've actually ever watched the one that Narelle and I made, the video Narelle and I made about travel diaries.
Travel diaries, and
I talk about the gear that I take with me.
Yeah.
Then you'll see that I have an easel that I can basically put over my shoulder and take wherever I want to go. So I'll try and put something onto one of these they're not lemons, one of these pears.
So you're using your paint fairly straight, just a little bit of water mixed in?
That's right. I like this structure paint. You can see how it sits up. It's kind of like oil paint, and that suits my style.
Yeah, it's lovely and thick.
And I tend to mix on the palette. And I just interpret the colours. I mean, the colours are probably a bit different to the way I see them, but that's all right. It's my painting. Yeah,
well, that's I think that's pretty unique to your style, that you do add paint and a lot of colour. Yes. As you go, and a lot of...
You know, the Fauvists were the colour people.
Yes.
And I think I probably am a bit of a Fauvist. They were called the wild beasts. I don't know that I'm exactly a wild beast.
It's pretty wild the way you throw paint on. Yeah. So a lot of people think you need to, you know, get a perfect colour match, mix up that paint colour before you start painting, but you literally paint, mix the colours as you go on your canvas, on your paper, and in your palette as you go. Yeah, now I think we've mentioned before active palette and passive palette. And an active palette has a lot of colour on it. Now, I've used a limited palette here, but it's still active because I'm just charging around the whole palette, adding a dab of paint here. Adding a bit of paint here and a bit of paint there. And you'll often just add a little bit of extra colour on the edge of your paintbrush as you go as well. Yeah. Almost like not side loading deliberately, but you'll have a little of extra 2 colours on your paintbrush at one time. Side loading, that's an interesting term. Good on you. A bit of a folk art term. Is it? Yes. I don't know that one. Okay, now I've got a very dark green there, which I will probably paint over, but that's okay. I'm getting the first layer down at the moment. So don't think that you have to get it all right straight away. Allow yourself the freedom to just play. That's a good point. If you're getting in those dark colours now too, it means you've got your tones happening. Yeah. You've got that really nice contrast in there already, and as you say, you can lighten that up later with your gorgeous opaque paint. So basically, you're quite right. So what we're actually doing here, by putting in some of these dark colours and letting them dry and coming back in with another layer,
just sort of making a ground. So a ground is like a background, then you can come over it and leave some of it, which is what I like to do.
Yeah, that's a great way of explaining it.
And I might use some of that similar colour. I never quite, I have to admit that I don't always know what colour I'm going to be putting onto the canvas. I just sort of do it.
Which probably is why it's helpful that you chose a limited palette today. You've got to stick to just those colours. You can't go throwing some of your famous pink and purple in there in this one.
That's right, that's right.
You may end up using some purple in your shadows, maybe. Who knows?
Yes, and I thought about that, and I haven't put it onto the list of things that I'm using, but you're quite right, I probably will, because purple in the shadows, you know, with a complementary colour, often the purple in the shadows works really well with yellow, because the purple is the complementary.
Yeah, that'll look great.
So you can see that I'm just chucking paint around. Now this paint is still malleable, so I can mix it a bit. People always worry about acrylic, but you can't. And if you want to, you can use a medium that will allow, you know, what's called an open medium, which will allow you to paint wet into wet longer. I'm just getting an idea of where the highlights are here while I throw paint on.
I think it's nice watching the way you're using your brush, actually.
I like brushes. There's something I think it's quite a primitive thing to actually, you know, get into some substance and then layer it onto something else. Something we do as children very, very successfully, and then we get frightened as we get older.
And overthink it all.
And overthink it all, yeah.
Yeah, you're not smoothing out all your brush strokes. You're really just throwing on layers of paint.
Well, that's why it suits me to have this style of paint, this structure paint as it's called, because it works well for me. Because I do like to throw paint on in great globs. Is that a very fashionable artistic term?
I don't know, it sounds good.
Yeah, I will finesse this, but we're starting to get, I always, you know what, I always like putting in the stalk. I've got to put that stalk in.
Yes.
There's something satisfying about putting the stalk in. And I may have to put paint over it later, but yeah.
It just gives you the position of it.
I feel
even
like
if it gets painted
helps.
over, you know it's still there. You'll be able to see it vaguely through the other layers of paint.
Yeah. So we've got a bit of a shadow happening there. Right. Stand back a bit and have a look. There's starting to be a bit of an image. I might clean that brush off a bit. So do wipe it on on
Wipe
me.
it on our aprons or pants.
I'm going to actually put in a little bit of the tablecloth, because that will help me to sort of feel a bit just help me to sort of settle it into its spot.
Oh, yep.
So I'm basically using just at the moment just very thick titanium white just to get a layer down.
So you're moving overall across your composition. You're not just sort of focusing and doing, you know, one pair at a time. You're literally working your way across the whole composition.
Yeah, it's a very good comment, and that's something that I think people struggle with, because they often will concentrate a lot on one area, and they lose sight of the rest of it.
Yep. So you're keeping an eye as you're going on your overall painting.
Yep. And I sort of want to get rid of some of those lines because I'm starting to get the sense of the painting now. So it's quite useful to just be able to paint into what I call painting into the subject, the object, and get rid of some of those guidelines.
Oh, yep. See how far I can zoom in so they can see what you're doing there. Oh, yep.
It's useful. So you'll notice that I have masked this, so I can go over that quite happily, and I will be able to pull the mask off carefully because sometimes it damages the paper.
Yeah.
But you can get a nice clean image then.
Nice.
So, and you'll notice that with the white tablecloth, it's really white over here because to me there's quite a bright bit there. There'll be a little bit of shadow here. This is also quite white, but I want you to know that it's not all just like white paper. It's got texture and it's got interest, so there's a bit of blue in that.
So there's always colours in your colours.
There's, white
colours in your whites, colours in every other colour.
There's always colour. There's always colour. And I like to mix the brush strokes up. Brush strokes are an interesting thing. So when you've got a round object like this, you can paint your brush strokes around and it'll help to give you the roundness. When you've got something that's flat, it can be quite helpful to do a sort of a herringbone effect because it's much more interesting than if you go, into a, straight up and down or horizontals. On other occasions, having horizontals will be just what you want, especially if you're doing some stripes.
Yep, true.
So your brush strokes are another important element in creating, I guess I'm talking a bit about texture here, creating texture in your painting.
Yep, nice. So we're over to the magic of time lapse again, just so you can see Christine finishing off this painting. But
yes, you will actually find that the whole of this video, including the finishing and composition and a whole lot of other instruction, will be on the online school called Art, the Universe and Everything, which is being launched at this weekend.
Yeah,
so when
so
you
exciting.
see this will be launched, and you can get the whole video there.
That's right, and the finished painting reveal.
And the finished painting reveal. But I hope that this has been useful to you, and if you are interested, please subscribe to my website, christinereedart.com, and have a look there under online classes, and you can see a bit more about what we're going to be doing. So happy painting, everybody.